Hello, hello, creative souls. You guys are going to love this episode today because it's right in line with what we love to do, which is create and create from a depth that shows the world like who we really are, what's really going on under the surface. It's unique to us and it's a beautiful experience, both creating it and then sharing it. So, for those of you who are into astrology, you're going to love this episode. We're going to be talking about the Pisces New Moon. But if you're new to it in general, you don't know much about astrology, I encourage you to still listen because there's a lot of things happening when you look back on your life where you can see that certain milestones in your life happened during these lunar cycles that we talk about sometimes on this podcast. It's a deep spiritual connection that we are going to be dealing with in the next couple of days. And so I really want you to get in that mindset of receiving some kind of spiritual download, preparing for a rebirth, so to speak, and a closure of something. This is really a great time to get past being stuck. So many people have been talking about how they're feeling overwhelmed and they feel stuck and they don't feel motivated to do things. We also just had Mars come out of retrograde, and Mars is all about motivation. And so that is turning. It's a slow turn, but you might feel like you're pushed in a certain direction now. So we're going to talk about all of this today. And first, if you're new here, my name is Aubrey Barr. I'm a subconscious release technique practitioner. I'm a photographer, and I've been an energy healer, massage therapist for almost 20 years. So I have a lot of different things going on in my world, and I absolutely love to show people how all of these connect. Because yes, my friends, things that are going on in your business right now, things that are going on with your relationships right now that maybe are bothering you or feel unsettled, all of these things connect to that spiritual and emotional, the place where your subconscious shows up in your everyday life. That's what we focus on here. And so, yes, sometimes we talk about astrology, sometimes we talk about human design, and other times we stick to the mindset behind it all, the subconscious programming and how that shows up in our life and how we hold ourselves back. Because, my friend, I do not believe you should be holding yourself back. I do not believe that we should be self-sabotaging in any of these ways. And I think once we understand where those stories are actually coming from and we use somatic work to release them, then we can kind of step into our divine role here in this world. So if you're new here, please hit follow so you can get notified every time a new episode releases. And that also helps Apple to be able to put our podcast in the searches more when people are pulling up these kind of topics. All right, friends, let's get started. So here's some points I want you to know and understand about this Pisces new moon. First off, Pisces rules the subconscious mind. It's where we hold onto emotions, memories, and those limiting beliefs that we may not even be fully aware of. That is most of the work that we do on the subconscious are things that we're not fully aware of, but they need to be peeled back like an onion, right? Every new layer, there's something to work on. But every time you do that, you're in a better place. So it's really kind of a beautiful way to process and heal when you take advantage of what's energies are already going on in the world around us. So you pretty much just ride that wave through whatever you're dealing with right now and use that extra awareness to be able to push through some of your limitations. I mean, you guys that have been here for a long time with me, you know that your thoughts create your reality, okay? And if those thoughts are still operating from past wounds or past mistakes, things that you deem were a problem, your limiting beliefs, then you're actually manifesting from the past instead of your highest potential. These old programs can be stuck. They can be stuck subconsciously and they can be stuck in your body. And sometimes they even attach emotion to them. And so when you get, quote, triggered, you might automatically feel angry about something and then later think back and, my gosh, why was I so mad? What about that scenario made me unleash this inner beast? Like, that's just ridiculous. So even logically, you can say, that didn't make sense. Those are indications that you are dealing with past beliefs, past wounds that have been able to just kind of sit there and fester. So this new moon asks, what subconscious stories are running your life? And it's going to bring awareness to that. Where are you holding on to fears or self-doubt or outdated beliefs that no longer serve you? I've said it recently, but one of the things that I love to say when I hear or feel something come up in me that I know is not of my higher potential or my best self, right? I would say to myself, well, the old Aubrey thought that way, but not the new version, right? Because we're always evolving. We're always learning. We're always growing. You can look at your life and say, yeah, it's February. It's the end of February 2025. I can look back and see how I am a different person from February 2024. That is obvious to most people, especially if you're listening to this podcast or other ones like this, where you're really invested in that personal growth. It's very easy to see the difference when you look at a year's time. But we forget that those differences are created by making decisions every day that lead you to a different place, right? We forget that and we sell ourselves short in a lot of aspects because of that. So pay attention to what's going on in the background. Pay attention to your dreams right now. Any synchronicities that you see show up, you get deja vu hits a lot, like pay attention to those. Any intuitive things, okay? Your subconscious is speaking to you louder now than it normally does. So really hone in on, okay, what are you trying to tell me? And this is true for divine messages too. I would open every day in this, okay, I always do this, okay? But if you do not always do this, I would open every day with a prayer or meditation and really open yourself up to receiving any messages about your daily life or about your spiritual life, right? Like whatever you feel like you need to change in. And actually, I decided just now, we're going to go ahead and go through each of the houses for this so you can see which area of life this Pisces new moon is hitting, because that helps you really focus on that area and what you can shift and change. It's a really great time to heal those areas. So we're going to go ahead and do that. If you don't already know what rising sign or ascendant sign you are, then I'll put a link in the comments and you can go ahead and just pull up a chart for yourself. It does matter what time you were born, because the rising sign is basically the zodiac sign that was on the horizon when you were born, at the time of day that you were born. And that changes like every 2 hours. So if you're off by 20 minutes, you could potentially be in a different one. So it is important, but check it out. And if not, just listen to where this could show up in your life. You might already be noticing patterns, certain areas of your life that need attention. So feel free to listen just based off of that information. But we're going to go ahead and go through them right now. We'll start with a Pisces rising. So for people who have Pisces rising, this is obviously going to be in your first house, which is the house of like yourself. It's your identity. And this is all about how you're evolving right now. Your identity is evolving, and it's a great time to have a personal rebirth, maybe beliefs that you think about yourself, right? That's a really good time to step into that and embrace whatever this new version is of you. So really focus on that aspect of your life. Is like, how do I see myself and how can this help me evolve? For Aries rising, this new moon is going to be happening in your 12th house, right? So again, the 12th house themes are so similar to Pisces. It's a super deep and spiritual place, okay? So you're getting like a double whammy. And this is all about subconscious healing. This is an amazing time to do what some people call shadow work. I just call it subconscious work. I'm not really into all the aspects of shadow work. It sometimes comes off as just like staying deep in all the bad things that you felt without giving you a release. And so I love that I have subconscious release, because we don't stay in that kind of negative limiting beliefs. We kind of also release that at the same time. But do what you need to do to dive deeper into that subconscious side of you. What is going on in your dreams when you go to sleep at night? The 12th house is a lot about dreams. It's about intuition. It's about receiving messages. And you've got this super spiritual moon pointing right on this bad boy. I would keep a dream journal next to your bed and just record things that go on that maybe mean something to you later. You also may notice that old wounds resurface. And that's okay because it's a great time to release it, right? That's the whole point of what's going on right now. If you're a Taurus rising, that means Pisces is in your 11th house right now. The 11th house is all about your social friendship groups, right? So it's social media, but it's also like the bigger groups. It's not your best friend. It's not your husband or spouse, but it's like the bigger groups of friends. It's about new beginnings in friendships and community. So you got a lot of community stuff here. So it's really important to align with people who inspire your spiritual and creative growth, right? You want people here that make you a better person. And so you might be really kind of, for lack of a better word, taking out the trash here where you're like, okay, this whatever, Facebook, I'm just going to pick on them right now. Facebook's not really feeling like a great place for me right now. I'm not really enjoying it. It's not leaving me feeling good about life. Maybe it's a good time to just kind of put that aside and allow for other things to come in and fill that space of friendships and community. That's just an example, but obviously you can find your own ways. You might already be searching for a group, like maybe a spiritual group or maybe like a new Bible study group. For my fellow Christians out there, maybe it's something like that where you can surround yourself with people that every day have this focus of divine help and spiritual connectedness. So you might be feeling a push away from groups that don't fulfill a deeper spiritual impact in your life. And you might be moving towards groups that do have that deeper connection. And that's a beautiful thing to find. So I know a lot of people are always looking for that anyway. And that's why my magnetic woman group did so well last year, because these ladies loved seeing each other. They knew that we were all creating a space where we were working on ourselves, where we were healing things in us that have been stuck in us for decades. And so finding something like that is going to be huge for you right now. All right, if you're a Gemini rising, this is going to be the 10th house. This is your career. This is your public persona. This is what people see. This is the top of your birth chart. It's the most seen area on your chart. And you might have other things there. But if you're a Gemini rising, you have your Pisces New Moon happening in career house. So this is career shifts. It's new opportunities. Okay. This is about trusting your intuition on your life's purpose and your public image. Okay. So tuning in every day to what that looks like for you. I would definitely add in some intuitive practices that have to do with that public persona or your career. For instance, if you normally just go about your business and don't really connect through meditation, through prayer or whatever, and you just kind of move through the normal stuff, you might be called and feel really pushed towards, okay, let's add in a midday meditation. Okay, let's pray about making this decision. Let's pray about doing this advertising this way. There might be some really interesting things that come up for you where you get a random message about showing up in a certain way on social media or showing up in a certain way on your posts on Facebook or something like that. And I would really follow that. I would listen. If God tells me to make a reel about something, I'm going to do it, right? Doesn't always happen, but this is a really good time to listen to those kind of messages because that's where you're going to get new opportunities. And the other thing to remember about the new moon is that opportunities might be showing up now that you had hoped for months ago. So when you planted a seed in something, it's now showing up for you. So just keep your mind open to what kind of career shifts or what kind of job opportunities may be showing up for you. Okay, if you're Cancer rising, you have the Pisces New Moon happening in your 9th house. This is a huge spiritual awakening because we're pulling in this house that's all about religion. It's about philosophy. It's about ethics and beliefs. This is your higher education house. This is like also long-term travel. And so you might have, for instance, maybe start exploring what does it look like if we decide to go on this big trip, and then meditate around, where would we go? What kinds of things am I looking for in this? And the other thing that happens in this house is it's higher education and it's also publishing. So a lot of book publishing or teaching. So is there something in your life that you've been wanting to write about? You've been wanting to teach about? Let's add in the spiritual component of this. Like, what kind of new beginnings could happen here? Is there a way for you to inspire the world by sharing this deep part of you? I would look at questions like that. And again, adding in the meditation, the prayer, the dream journal, just to kind of see where you are meant to be exploring this new moon, because this is a huge house for learning something new and growing and maybe even sharing it. Okay. For Leo rising, this is going to happen in your 8th house. So this is your emotional and financial transformation. The 8th house is a lot about your long-term gains. So you have like your 401k and your bigger investment, your real estate investments, things like that. But it's also about psychological issues, about intimacy or trauma or fears. It's a death and rebirth. It's a transformation. So having Pisces here, I can tell you are someone who already is super into spiritual transformation. You wouldn't shy away from that. It might feel good sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. But right now you're having the Pisces new moon there as well. So you're adding in this extra spiritual side to transformation, which is honestly the best way to do transformation. Okay. Actually, I'm just realizing this is where my daughter has Pisces. So I've looked into this before for that. Yeah, she is also a Leo rising. So I know a little bit about y'all. Okay, so back to the 8th house. This is a time to let go of fears around intimacy, around money, or power dynamics. Pisces dissolves boundaries. So it's asking you to release control and old emotional wounds. So if you're feeling super attached to maybe a past experience and that's causing you to have self-doubt or worthiness questions, now it's saying, hey, let's let that go. Let's really just be done with it and move on. And that's great, isn't it? So shadow work and subconscious healing. Okay, you guys know I already went over the shadow work stuff. I love subconscious healing for this right now. I think it's a great time to ride that wave. It's perfect for subconscious work, emotional release, and intuitive practices. So can you get a Reiki session in? Can you get some energy work done? Can you do some subconscious release? It's a great time for that. You're going to have massive moves right now. All right, for my Virgo rising, that is me. I am with you on this, you guys. I'm totally with you on this journey. We have Pisces new moon happening in the 7th house. So this is your closest relationship, right? This is your spouse. It's also a close business partnership or contractual agreements, negotiations, and open enemies. So this is like really, really focus on that really close relationship in your life. So since the Pisces new moon is here, we're really looking for new connections or shifts in existing partnerships that bring healing and clarity. So you might feel like you really want to spend a little more one-on-one time with your partner. You might feel like you want to do something super spiritual with them, right? Like, hey, have you tried this? Do you want to meditate with me? I laugh because my husband has tried meditating with me. He's open to things, but he probably thinks I'm a little bit too spiritual. But it's okay because we even each other out. But when I look at having Pisces here, I am always naturally looking for spiritual connection with my husband. I'm wanting it to feel good. If I'm looking at a business partnership, I'm wanting that to really feel good. I want my intuition to say, hey, yes, absolutely, this is the direction you want to go in. When I look at a contract for other things, for the business, for life in general, I might really read through it and I even meditate on it and think like, does this work for me? Like I really pull in that spiritual side of it. And you guys may relate to that. So having the new moon here is like, what part of us are we subconsciously hanging on to that are blocking us from that spiritual connection with your partner? Or like I said, in the business contracts, a business partnership, like where am I having blocks there because I don't want to open up fully. Maybe I'm not feeling super vulnerable. Maybe I am feeling like I can't fully trust a person. If you're not already in a relationship, let's say that you're single right now, you might be really drawn to finding that connection in your dating life where you're like, okay, but I have to feel a deeper connection to this person. Like I find them attractive. I think we have fun together, but is there more depth there? Is there more there? So for my single ladies and guys out there, if you're feeling really pulled towards that, it's a good time to evaluate that. It's a good time to say yay or nay based off of that, because you're getting these intuitive hits that are going to be helpful in you deciding, should I do another date here? Should I totally pull away from this person and start anew somewhere else? And I wasn't going to cover this in this episode, but we do have Venus going retrograde next week. So that's another thing that has to do with partnerships. I would encourage you to listen back. We have a lot happening spiritually here in the 7th house right now for my Virgo risings. The good news is that going into this, maybe you're already in a marriage or a partnership, this will sort through some of the things that are bothering you, some of the things that maybe you didn't speak up about. Maybe you haven't fully recognized that it's an issue for you. This is going to be a great time to heal those things and move on. It's going to solidify more what you're in. But if you're single, it's going to help you determine, what are my priorities here? What am I really looking for? And does this person fit the mix? Or you could be looking at new opportunities with new people coming into your life in whatever way. So honestly, you guys, listen back next week when we go over Venus retrograde, because there's going to be more there for sure. All right, moving on to Libra rising. So this is happening in your 6th house. We've got Pisces New Moon. This is your daily stuff. This is your personal routine. It's all about your health, your nutrition. What do I eat for breakfast? How do I plan out my workday? Especially if you're working from home, you might have a little more in your control as far as what you can change here. So I would say, first off, you guys, listen to your body. Okay, really listen and prioritize your emotional and physical balance. Okay, you're Libra rising anyway. So you're all about like, where's the balance here? And now you've got Pisces New Moon happening in that 6th house. So it's like, hey, what do I need to shift here? And I would say you might want to look at some of your spiritual practices. Okay. I did a whole thing on listening to your body in my intuition calibration class. So I'll link that in the comments if you guys are into that, but it's a really good time to do something like that where you learn to listen to that intuition that's coming from your body, from your soul, that's telling you, yes, I should eat this. No, I shouldn't eat that. Hey, guess what, honey? You're dehydrated. I teach how to do that in that class. So if you guys are really interested in creating a deeper connection, there's really a lot of information in there. And we do go through and release a lot of subconscious beliefs about our body, about how we feel in our body, about what we think our body looks like deep on the subconscious side. Those kind of programs are excellent any time of the year to sort through and to release, because we do not need to carry them, but it's especially good right now. So if you're feeling called to kind of ask your body, hey, what do you need from me? What can I be doing different? It's really a great time to do some kind of course like that. So I will link that in the comments. All right, we've got Scorpio rising. This is happening in your 5th house. Boy, creatives out there, this is for you, okay? This is your creative and romantic renewal. This is all about, how do I show up in the world through my creativity? It's imagination, okay? It's being able to be like a child again. Okay, it's this childlike mentality. If you have a small child and you get on the floor with them and you play and you're, imaginative, and you've got this car, but it's really just a block, right? And you're doing all these things and you're having a good time. That's what this is. And there's a lot of healing that happens in things like that, in using your imagination, in dreaming bigger. There's a lot of healing that happens. There's a lot of self-discovery. If you're a photographer like I am, this is a great time to pick up your camera and maybe try doing some freelancing, or I've taught a whole class at Click Away one year about this, but you can put like a bag over your lens and play with that to create different, let's call them soft exposure areas in your picture. You can use a copper ring. I did all of this. I love, love, love creating in this way. And it just puts you into a different space where you're like, wow, look what I just created by just using these tools around my house. Like, it's insane. Maybe it's a good time to explore that. That feeling that you get when you are in that childlike play momentum is so healing. So how can you add that into your life right now? How can you really feel renewed creatively? And if you've been feeling stuck, my friend, here's your chance to get unstuck. Really play with that creative energy and see, how can we make that more deep? How can we add in the subconscious here? How can we show the world the way we see it? Right? It's a beautiful time to explore that for yourself. If you are a Sagittarius rising, this Pisces new moon is happening in your fourth house. This is your home. It's your family. It's your parents. It's your ancestors, your roots. Okay. It's your foundation. If you're an older person, this is also your retirement home, right? Like, this is where that phase in life is. So this is a great time for emotional and home life healing. Okay. You may already be feeling called to nurture your home. Is there something I want to change here? Do I want to make my entryway more beautiful, more welcoming? Do I want to add a plant here? Like, you might already be looking around and saying, my gosh, my office is not inspiring right now. It's cluttered and I've acquired things that I don't need, right? How do I make this more an inspirational space? You might really be honing in on that already on your own. And that is the energy that the Pisces new moon is bringing. But you might also be looking at your family dynamics and the relationships there. You might find this a great time to add in a little bit more of those in-depth talks with your kids. Maybe they haven't been wanting to. Well, they might be feeling it too right now. Everybody's dealing with the Pisces new moon somewhere in their chart. They might be super encouraged to have a deep conversation with you and really connect with you on a deeper level than normal. Like, get rid of the everyday crazy busy stuff and have a meaningful talk with the people in your life. You might find that they are willing to meet you there as well. And isn't it a beautiful thing when you walk into your home and you feel like, this is my solace. This is my space. This is where I feel so good. I could spend all my time here, but I can't, but I could, right? You already have Pisces in your fourth house. So you already are kind of primed and conditioned to want your home to feel like a spiritual space for you. So now we connect the new moon there and we say, oh my gosh, where can I change things? Where can I shift things? If something feels stagnant, can I move things around at least? How can I add this back into my life in a way that's meaningful? Do I have some programs, some shadow work that needs to be done around clutter, around not being open to things in my home? Have I been living in the same redundant space that I forget to kind of look at things and say, do I even like that anymore? Right? This is a great time to assess that. It's a really great time to say, is this meeting my spiritual and emotional needs? Whatever's going on in this house. I know I'm doing that anyway, but I'm needing to do that. So I feel you on that. I think it's an important and essential part of how we live, especially if you're someone who also works from home. And I highly encourage you to add in different ways of spiritual upliftedness in your home and just see where that guides you. Okay. Now, if you are a Capricorn rising, you are having this Pisces new moon in your third house. And this is inspired by communication. Okay. This is like, how do we speak to the world? This is extended family. It's about your neighbors. It's about short distance travel. Okay. And it's also early education. And it also has to do with your mindset. So since Pisces is like dreamy and it's intuitive and it's a very spiritual sign, this energy is going to feel inspiring, but also kind of confusing in a house that normally favors the logic and the facts and the structure, right? Because you're Capricorn rising, and that's a lot about someone who kind of comes off as a structured and responsible person. So my question here is, how do we shift our mindset and our intuition within the boundaries of logic, if that makes sense? So the way you think and process and speak, it's being illuminated. And it may feel like you're being pulled between practical Capricorn style thinking and the Pisces, like intuition and dreams and gut feelings, right? All that hooty tooty stuff. This is a time to soften the rigid thought patterns and open up to spiritual downloads, right? And creative ideas. Be willing to accept them when they come. And you may feel drawn towards learning something new spiritually, right? So since there's a lot of learning here as well as the ninth house, there's a lot that you can dive into spiritually and subconscious work. You might also dive into astrology. This might be very interesting for you right now. It's an excellent time to journal because the third house is all about writing too. It's about communicating through creative writing. And so I find that to be a very healing experience to do when you have this sign in the third house. Do you do everyday journals? It would be a great time to pick up on a habit like that. So healing conversations too and emotional expression, because your words hold power. You might feel extra sensitive towards others' energy and find that deep emotional conversations will naturally come. This is a great time to clear the air, right? With compassion, with understanding, and find that balance again between the two intuitive and the logical side, right? So for you, I'm really diving towards journaling and allowing yourself to trust your intuition when it comes up and practicing mindfulness, right? If that means that you need to, what do they call that? A brain dump, where you just write all the words down on a paper and you don't even read it because you're just like getting rid of things. It's a great time to do something like that, where you're just practicing kind of releasing. Okay. All right. So the next one, we have Aquarius rising. This is the last one. Oh my gosh. Okay. So for Aquarius rising people, this Pisces new moon is happening in your second house. This is your house of not just your everyday income, but also your values. So think about your self-worth. How deserving am I? What you think about yourself and how that reflects on your income is huge here. You've got Pisces there, so it's very spiritual. You're looking for new financial perspectives, okay? There's a money mindset shift that could happen here. And really, you're leaning towards trusting that your worth is reflected in your abundance. But if you know anything about subconscious work, one of the first things you have to do there is to feel abundant and then receive abundance, okay? So in the Christian world, we would say faith precedes the miracle, right? You have to first believe that you can have it and that you do have it and know what it feels like to have it before you actually see those shifts come in. And this is a very Piscean thing because you have the spiritual Pisces in your second house. So this might be a theme for you in your entire life. This might be something that's like, yeah, that's where I'm at, But adding in the Pisces new moon here gives you new opportunities to really shed this. Now, this might look like going through something that doesn't feel so good right now. It might not feel like you deserve a raise, or it might not feel like you deserve certain things. This can be hard because it can be something that kind of sets you down a couple notches first before you rebuild it, before you go into that rebirth process and transformation process. But I would say that when you open up your heart first, when you allow intuitive messages to come first, then you're able to lean into those while you wait for everything to manifest. Okay. And I'm using manifest not in a way that you're sitting down and you're manifesting how much income you're going to make this month. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the things that you dream about, that have to do with your daily income and your financial gains and who you are in the world as far as your self-worth, those things are so pertinent to your journey. And it may be like you're having to shed old parts of you that are not in line with that person that receives big money, or are not in line with that person that has high respect from other people because they respect themselves, right? So first, we kind of gut that out. First, we have to say, you know what, this belief that I'm not good enough to make a certain amount of money, or this belief that I'll never be like someone else in this regard, I'll never be as good as so and so, or whatever, that's really being asked to be shed. And it's a great time to do just that. It's a great time to work on those subconscious value aspects that you have. And I would say, if you're someone who's like, yes, I understand this is about my income, but I'm not really seeing that connection with my self-worth, I would say you probably have some subconscious work that needs to be done on yourself right now. And it's showing up in a way that is super unconscious to you. You cannot fully understand it, but maybe it's a good time to dig into that. Maybe it's a good time to do some journaling or some subconscious work around that. I'll put my link in the comments for my subconscious release technique. And I also have a class, I just remembered, that is on how to shift our beliefs around money, about our everyday income. I think it's like $150 maybe, or less. So I'll link that in the comments too, where you can start kind of working on the subconscious stuff that's going on with your everyday money and your everyday needs and desires and that self-worth and how they are all connected together. Oh my goodness. So you guys, that's the first time I've gone through every single rising sign and talked about what the new moon has to do with that sign and what you're going to be looking into. And I have to tell you, it's a little long. I'm not even used to having an over 30-minute episode release. So I am so thankful for you for hanging around, listening to all these things. I really hope that it was helpful for you. I hope you all have a deeper understanding of what this next phase can bring for you. I hope you're encouraged and inspired to dive into the deeper spiritual side of what's going on in these particular areas, or just life in general. And you guys, you know that I just finished my level 1 astrology certification, and I'm still doing more. I'm loving it. I'm like an insane student that just keeps going. So if you are interested in getting 20 to 30-minute star-aligned chart reading with me, they are super inexpensive right now because I am still a student. And it's not like my subconscious work where I am just freaking boss, okay? I don't know how else to say that. But I do add in some subconscious things that I see show up during those readings. And it is just a recording that you will get from me. It costs only $55 right now. So I will link that below. Until I hit a certain amount of readings, they will be that low. I don't know how long that'll take because I've already done quite a few this week. So I will leave that comment below. You guys, if you love this, please let me know. Leave me a review. Give me some stars, whatever it takes. And most of all, I hope you have a beautiful day, and we will talk again soon. Bye, friends.